London's Apollo Theatre's ceiling collapses during show. More than 80 people have been injured, 4 seriously, after part of the ceiling in London's Apollo Theatre collapsed during a show, police say. The venue in Shaftesbury Avenue was packed for a performance of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time. Eyewitnesses heard a crackling noise before the collapse at about 20:15 GMT. Theatregoers left covered in debris. London Ambulance said there were 81 walking wounded and that all those who were trapped earlier had been freed. Some 25 ambulance crews and an air ambulance attended the scene, it said. London Fire Brigade said 4 people were seriously injured but none have life-threatening injuries. It said its search is now complete and the theatre has been sealed off. 8 fire engines and more than 50 firefighters attended the incident in London's busy West End theatre district, along with hundreds of police officers. The Apollo's ornate plasterwork ceiling collapsed and brought part of the lighting rig down, it said. In a media briefing, the fire brigade said its officers inspected the theatre's roof via an aerial ladder platform that had been raised above the building. It said it did not believe scaffolding on adjacent building had anything to do with the incident. Nick Harding from Kingsland Fire Station said, a section of the theatre's ceiling collapsed onto the audience who were watching the show. The ceiling took parts of the balconies down with it. Continue reading the main story. A circumflex. Start quote. In my time as a fire officer I've never seen an incident like this. Specialist urban search and rescue crews were also called to the scene to make sure no one was trapped. He added, in my time as a fire officer I've never seen an incident like this. Firefighters said the theatre had been almost full and 720 people were watching the performance. The Met Police said more than 40 walking wounded were treated at the nearby Guild Theatre, while 3 London buses were used to transport others to hospitals. Prime Minister David Cameron tweeted, I've been updated regularly on the Apollo incident. I'm grateful for the fast work of the emergency services in helping the injured. A spokesman for London Mayor Boris Johnson said, he has spoken to the Met Police Commissioner and is liaising with the relevant agencies. His thoughts and prayers are with those involved in what is clearly a very serious incident. Witnesses earlier said they had seen people leaving the building, covered in dust and plaster, with some people bleeding and crying. Strange crackling noise. Amy Lucas, who was at the theatre with her 2 children, aged 16 and 19, said, the entire dome roof fell down on the audience just in front of us. We were protected by the balcony above and we ran. People started screaming. We thought it was water. We thought it was a part of the show. I grabbed my kids and ran. Another witness said she heard a strange crackling noise before the roof just crumbled. Theatregoer Lucia Thornton. The ceiling just fell in. The theatre suddenly went dark, with dust clouds everywhere, she said. You could see everyone ran off the stage. It went dark. Theatregoer Khalil Anjawala said his heavily pregnant wife and her parents managed to escape from the theatre safely after kilos of concrete plummeted from the ceiling. We initially thought it was part of the show. Thankfully we are all okay. My wife is 7 months pregnant but she is okay. Speaking to the BBC News Channel, Martin Bostock said, all the actors reacted, we saw all the actors looking up above us and pointing, looking horrified, and then things started falling and smoke, and I thought it was part of the show until something hit me on the head very hard. I thought, that's not quite right, and then everything came down around us, and to be quite honest I thought we were all going to be in really serious trouble and it felt horrific. Independent newspaper journalist Simon Osborne was also in the audience. Everybody rose instantly and grabbed anything they could and dashed for the door, he said. I was very close to the exit, fortunately, with my girlfriend, and we got out onto the pavement in, I would say, 3 seconds. And then people out on the pavement were in a state of shock. There were children, it's a family-friendly show, of course, who were crying, there were adults, and then people started walking out, covered in dust, head to toe, many with blood on their heads and faces. Witnesses said police and emergency crews were at the scene within minutes. A 29-year-old audience member, who only gave his name as Ben, said, "It was about halfway through the first half of the show and there was a lot of creaking. We thought it was part of the scene, it was a seaside scene, but then there was a lot of crashing noise and part of the roof caved in. There was dust everywhere, everybody's covered in dust. We got out fairly quickly, I think everyone was quite panicked." Jess Barry was also in the theater and said in a tweet that the experience was absolutely petrifying. "People outside are covered in dust and some in blood. Utterly horrible." The curious incident of the dog in the nighttime has been running in London since August 2012. The show started at the National Theatre, before transferring to the Apollo in March this year. The Grade II listed Apollo was built in 1901 and has 775 seats over 4 levels. Since 2005 it has been owned and operated by NIMAX Theatres, which also runs the Garrick, Duchess and Vaudeville theatres.